I still remember the weight of that airport silence. The cold air felt thicker when I opened my mouth and no one understood me. America was loud so loud, but I couldn't even ask for a glass of water. At 13, I had a name people couldn't pronounce and an accent they mocked. I smiled through it all, but inside I was folding, one syllable at a time. The first time someone called me a brownie at school, I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know how to defend myself, not in this new language, not yet. So I shrunk into corners, avoided speaking, and counted ceiling tiles instead of friends. English wasn't just a subject anymore, it was survival. Every day felt like walking on glass barefoot. My tongue hesitated, stumbled, stuttered, ashamed of its own voice. I'd practice thank you 100 times before saying it to the bus driver. But still, when I spoke, eyes widened, laughter flinched, and I shrank. There's a special kind of loneliness when your thoughts feel trapped inside you. In India, I had always felt seen by my family, my teachers, my world. But here, I felt invisible, like a ghost with a beating heart. My name, Priyanka, was twisted, shortened, and joked about like it was foreign poison. I wanted to shout, to explain, to connect, but I lacked the words. And without the words, I wasn't me anymore. I was just the new girl. The classrooms weren't kind, but the hallways were worse. Quick whispers, snickering shadows, notes passed behind backs, all because I spoke with an accent and paused too long between words. I would come home and cry in silence, not wanting to worry about my parents. They had sacrificed everything for this better life. I couldn't disappoint them. I became obsessed, not with English itself, but with breaking its lock. I'd stay up late, listening to cassette tapes, mimicking phrases in the mirror. I'd watch sitcoms with subtitles, repeating the punchlines again and again. It wasn't glamorous, it was exhausting, humiliating, and lonely. But somewhere between tears and repetition, I started to hear music in the words. I read children's books first slowly, like tasting new food. Then newspapers, magazines, anything I could find with English on it. I kept a notebook of phrases, idioms, and accents I didn't understand. I whispered them to myself while brushing my hair, folding laundry, tying my shoes. English was no longer just a subject, it was a secret I was learning to love. But love is a fragile thing when the world keeps reminding you that you're different. One audition, years later in Mumbai, someone told me I sounded too Indian. That sentence burned me more than any racial slur ever did. Because by then, I had worked so hard to find my voice, and still, it wasn't enough. That night, I went home and screamed into my pillow like I was 13 again. I questioned everything. Was I faking it, pretending to belong in two worlds? Could I ever really be understood in a language that once made me feel invisible? And yet, I didn't give up. Not because I was brave, but because I had no choice. The world may speak in English, but I had stories to tell, scars to translate, and I wasn't going to let silence define me again. So I trained harder this time, not just my accent, but my tone, pace, feeling. I practiced with voice coaches, studied international actors, and watched news anchors. I would stand in front of the mirror and deliver lines until my throat went dry. Not to sound American or British, but to sound like me, only louder. I was finally building my voice, not just in English, but in identity. When I returned to India and entered pageants, people assumed I was confident. They didn't see the nights I cried over pronunciation or doubted my worth. I smiled on stage, yes, but inside I was praying not to mess up a word. Every syllable I spoke in English still carried a memory of struggle. But now I wore that struggle like armor, not shame. Winning Miss World wasn't the end of my English story, it was just the beginning. Suddenly, I was representing a country and a girl who once hid behind silence. I realized then, English wasn't power. Confidence was. And confidence is what you build when you break through enough rejections. So I kept going, scripts, interviews, speeches, all in a language I once feared. Hollywood came later, and with it, a new wave of anxiety. Suddenly, my fluency wasn't enough. My accent was too this or too that. There were days I wanted to scream, to give up, to walk away again. But each time I spoke, I remembered the 13-year-old girl in Iowa, and I spoke for her, For the girl who once swallowed her voice. I still make mistakes. I still pause, stumble, and search for words sometimes. But now I forgive myself faster because I know how far I've come. I've learned that language doesn't define intelligence, expression, and that every accent holds a story, every hesitation a hidden victory. This voice is flawed, strong, and real is finally mine. I look back at the girl who couldn't say schedule properly without blushing. I wish I could hug her and say, "You'll get there, just keep whispering in the dark." Because that's how it happens. Not overnight, not easily, not loudly, but slowly, consistently, with pain and purpose intertwined. That's how you build a voice that the world can't ignore. Now, when I walk onto a set or a stage, I carry all those years inside me. Not just the grammar or pronunciation, but the grit, the hunger, the fire. People hear my English and assume it came naturally, but they don't see the notebooks, the sleepless nights, the whispered phrases. And maybe that's okay, because I didn't do it to impress anyone. I did it to belong. English never became my first language, but it became my bridge. A bridge between cultures, between people, between dreams and reality. It connected the small-town girl from Bareilly with the global stage. But more than anything, it reconnected me with myself. And for that, every struggle was worth it. I tell this story not as a celebrity, but as someone who knows how it feels. To freeze when asked a question, to doubt your worth, to ache for connection. And if you've ever felt that ache, please hear this. You are not broken. You're just becoming, slowly, beautifully, through every wrong word and right one. And trust me, your voice matters even when it shakes. Have you ever felt stuck like this? Like English is the wall between you and your dreams? You're not alone, but you're also not helpless. The link in the description might just be the turning point you've been waiting for. Don't forget to check it out. New viewers, subscribe to my channel. Thank you.